Hi everyone, I am Heather, and I want to welcome you to Magnificent Authors Podcast, brought to you by Magnificent Mamas. This is the show where we'll celebrate the magic of storytelling and the power of words. I'm your host, Heather, and each week I'll be sitting down with incredible authors from all walks of life to explore their creative journeys, uncover their writing secrets, and delve into worlds they create. Whether you are an aspiring writer, a passionate reader, or simply curious about the minds behind your favorite books, this is the podcast for you. So grab a cozy blanket, pour yourself a cup of tea, and get ready to be inspired by the magnificent authors who join us. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, I am Heather with Magnificent Mamas and Magnificent Authors Podcast. We're joined here today with author Jo-Anne Duffett, is it?
Yeah.
Jo-Anne, it's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jo-Anne. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I am actually a medical doctor, and writing is a bit of a hobby rather than a full-time job for me. My husband actually challenged me to write a book because I was reading so many books, and he's like, "Right, Jo."
Nice. So that's awesome that your husband's supportive of you writing. Tell me a little bit about your book.
So it's a romance, a sweet, clean romance set in South Africa. It's also got a bit of a travel theme. I'm hoping that it'll attract people to South Africa to come and see a side of it that they don't usually know about. So it's the main character, Sarah. She is born in London, but her mom is South African, but she'd never been to South Africa before. And her boyfriend has just proposed, and she's a little bit puzzled by this because it seemed a bit hasty. They haven't been together that long. And she decides to come to South Africa to try and find her grandparents, her South African grandparents, so that she can just have, another sounding board. And she comes to Cape Town first, and she's traveling with a friend, and they're spending time in Cape Town, learning to surf. And I keep on seeing this one surfer that is like very nice eye candy,
Yes.
but she's potentially engaged if she just says something, so she's not thinking much about it. And then her friend goes back to London, and she cycles from Cape Town to the crew at 600 kilometers. But
wow.
There's lots of back roads that you can do it, so you can do it mostly on gravel roads, and a really beautiful trip to do. And so she cycles to this region called the Karoo. The Karoo is actually a very large arid region in South Africa. But just when she nearly reaches her destination, there's a little bit of a disaster, an accident. You're only going to find out. But when she wakes up, she doesn't know who she is, where she is, why she is. And she's rescued by Luan, who is a sheep farmer, and else, but you only find that out later.
Okay. Well, it definitely sounds interesting for sure. And I like how you put at the beginning to hope to drive visitors to South Africa to experience it and see other places. I think that's awesome. What inspired you to write this story?
So obviously it was firstly my husband saying, write your own book, because I was reading so much, and I enjoy reading romance. But I had just read an article about somebody they referred to as the salty shepherd. He was a sheep farmer, but from a different region, who also did big wave surfing. And my husband was a surfer when he was younger, and my sister owned a sheep farm at the time. So I drew from this to come up with this idea of a sheep farmer who sometimes surfs as well, to link Cape Town with the Karoo, where Cape Town is the surf and the Karoo is the turf.
That makes sense. Who is your favorite character in your book?
Who's my favorite character in the book? The sidekick of Sarah, her friend.
The friend that went back to London?
Yeah. There's phone calls in between with her as well. And yeah, she's quite a character.
Nice. If you could bring anyone to life for a day from your book, who would it be and what would you do?
Oh, what would I do if I were to draw? I would probably like Luan to come to life, my hero. I'd actually like him to meet my husband. I think they'd get along really well.
Nice. That's awesome. That's funny. So you said the romance was clean, so no like super graphic scenes or anything like that. I'm guessing, right?
Yes, the hottest thing is kissing.
Okay, so that's what would you say the age range, the youngest that could read your book would be?
I think teenagers would enjoy it. It's aimed at young women, probably would be the main, but it wouldn't be a problem if a teenager picked it up. I think they might enjoy it.
Yeah. And I mean, they're at that age, so romance is definitely intriguing to teenagers as well. But it's nice that, like for me, I don't personally get into all the graphic romance, where it's really in detail, so to speak. Like, I'm trying to word this nicely.
Open door.
Yeah. My daughter was listening to an ebook a couple months back, and I happened to hear some of it, and I was like, I don't think you need to be listening to that. And she's 15, so for me to say something, it was very graphic.
Yes.
At least.
There are a lot of people who enjoy that type of but it's not what I wish to portray. I work with university students, and I don't want to be promoting what I'm trying to treat them out of.
Yes, I understand completely. And I understand and support everyone's different interests in reading and whatnot, and life in general. But I definitely, for me, myself, shy away from the graphic romantic scenes.
Yeah, often it doesn't even add to the story.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything. And it's sometimes very unnecessary. And I personally, the Romance Writer South Africa, we had an online session discussing heat. And I'm the only sweet romance writer in the whole group.
Oh no.
We have the full in that group. And I just pointed out to them that you can have it super hot with just kissing.
Oh yeah.
Because you can be incredibly intimate just with kissing. Because it's got to do with the whole emotional connection and the build up towards it and the anticipation of when you're married without it going in any place that is awkward or embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree completely. 100%. Sorry. Would you say that your book is sorry, my brain just went retarded. Nico, edit this part out, please. Sorry. I'm sorry. My brain is just not with it today. We'll fix that. Okay, are you currently reading any books right now? And if so, what are you reading?
So I always have more than one book that's working at the same time. So in my car, I've got quite a long commute to work. I travel 60 kilometers a day. So in my car, I usually listen to more adventure type stuff. So I'm listening to classic sci-fi. So it's Jules Verne. And currently it's The Castle of the Carpathians that I'm listening to. And then I just finished reading that, which is Amanda McCabe's The Shy Duchess. And on the audiobook, on my phone, because my phone is with me when I'm stuck in a queue or any other such situations. This one is What an Earl Wants by Shirley Carr.
Nice.
So
like historical romance for that one?
Yeah, that one's definitely romance.
Definitely. Nice. It sounds like you enjoy a wide variety of genres.
I do. I mean, I read a lot of romance, but I'm trying to make myself read a little bit wider. And then the other thing is when we're in the car, when we're driving long distances, I read to my husband. So then I pick up books that would interest him too. So quite often that's nonfiction sometimes, but like vet stories and kind of hilarious true tales. So at the moment, we just finished one of the Dr. Dolittle ones, reading in the car. But sometimes it'll be Hardy Boys or something like that. So something that keeps our attention, because South Africa's got, also like the US, has got some large areas of driving. If you're going to drive 2 to 3 hours, it's the best way to keep yourself entertained, because otherwise I will fidget and squirm the whole way. So it keeps me busy by reading, keeps him entertained.
I don't know. There's something about getting in the car for like a long time. It just puts me to sleep. And that's not a good thing sometimes. Like when I'm supposed to be navigating, giving directions, it's like, okay, how am I going to stay awake?
Yeah, so the reading really helps to keep it interesting. So yeah, the type of books that I pick for that is very different from the type of books that I would read on my own. Definitely more the adventurous kind of stuff that he would enjoy as well.
Definitely.
But every now and then I'll read him an excerpt from romance. I was reading one the other day, which I thought was so funny, that I read part of it to him. Was it was a retake on Cinderella.
Okay.
But Cinderella was doing the rescuing of the prince rather than the other one.
Nice. That's awesome. Because that's like empowering a woman instead of making it, the man has to always rescue the female.
Yeah. So yeah, I love these retakes on an old classic fairy tale.
There's a lot right now too.
Yes. Sorry?
I've seen a lot. I said there's a lot right now of like the retellings or differences of the stories. I saw one author that I interviewed did something for Neverland, and it was, I forgot if it was Wendy's great granddaughter or Peter Pan's, but it's definitely an interesting story for sure.
Yeah.
And it's nice to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I read a Robin Hood retake as well, where the girl's the hero. So yeah, quite fun.
That's what we need more. We need more of the girl being the hero, or supporting strong women.
Yes,
I think. And just to switch it up so it's not all the same. If you had to write a different genre than what you currently write in, what would it be?
Adventure.
Do you plan to write any more books? Are you working on anything?
So I have a book out for review with a couple of publishers at the moment. That is a medical romance. Quite different from the current book. Much deeper character diving in that one. But the book that I'm currently writing, I'm having a total blast with, but I don't have much time to write because of my hours of work. But I'm writing a time travel. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. But you keep on having to do things, because you say a word and you're like, when did that word come into the English language? What year? Is it appropriate to be used in this content by this speaker, or does it have to be from the other speaker? So I'm constantly looking up words, looking up things, trying to find out when was glass first used, when was this kind of metal first used. Yeah, it keeps one on one's toes, but it's a lot of fun.
Definitely. I think a lot of readers don't know how much research goes into books, especially when there's, you're writing in a different time.
Yeah.
Whether it's like an accurate historical type of book or just like time travel. I think readers forget how much research goes into making sure it's accurate, because you don't want to say the wrong thing that's not, going on in that time period.
Yeah, it's a lot like writing article where you first have to read really wide to understand the bigger topic, and then you can zone in onto what you're actually writing about. So like with my time travel, my heroine is a PhD candidate in not archaeology, paleontology. So she's got an undergrad degree as a geologist, and now she's doing a PhD in paleontology. But I don't know a lot about paleontology, so I visited the university library and took out textbooks on paleontology and skimmed them to just have an understanding of what sort of things she would be looking at, with what would tickle her fancy, or how she would approach things, even though it's not going to be a big component of the actual time travel, but understanding your character. They say which books your character would have read. So that's also interesting when you're thinking about what sort of books are available to a 17th century nobleman. Then you got to go and hunt down what books were in print, what books were available in English, and then try and read them. So that you've got an understanding of what sort of stuff is available.
Definitely, I agree. And we just assume that, all these books were available, but they weren't, and that's part of the research, is seeing what was available and what wasn't. And I think that's important. What kind of advice would you give? Go ahead.
Sorry. I discovered that 1001 Arabian Nights would have been one of the books that would have been available, but it would have been written in French then, because that was the first translation. So that was one of the audiobooks that I listened to for weeks of driving back and to and from work, is 1001 Arabian Nights.
That's awesome. That's a classic right there.
Yeah. Sinbad the Sailor comes from that.
What is it?
Sinbad the Sailor, the story of Sinbad the Sailor. That comes from 1001 Arabian Nights. And Aladdin also comes from 1001 Arabian Nights.
Yep. And everyone knows Aladdin.
Yeah.
What would you say that you learned the most in your writing career that you didn't expect going into writing a novel?
To trust in the fact that you actually have got some creativity. I think when I was at school, I was quite an academic kid. My sister was quite the creative one, so I always thought, well, I'm the academic and she's the creative. And I was like, I never thought it would be possible for me to write fiction. If you asked me a couple of years ago, if you were to write a book, what would it be? I would have probably said it would have been nonfiction. Would definitely not have thought I would write fiction. But I've really had a blast writing. Yeah. It's just fun to have alter ego.
That's awesome. And you're obviously, we've already talked about, you're currently working on other books. And the first book we talked about, did you traditionally publish that as well as the one that's currently, or did you self-publish?
No, it's hybrid publishing. So it's a traditional publisher, and they gave me a hybrid offer because I was a first-time author. Apparently, that particular company doesn't offer a full traditional for first-time authors. So they offered a hybrid publishing contract. So yeah. So I carried part of the cost and the risk, but it's got the other benefits of being a traditional publisher. So it is available in paperback, which is cool.
That's awesome. That is very cool. And I like the cover. It's beautiful.
Let me hold it so you can see it better. I actually took the photograph on the cover when I was doing location scouting. So as part of my research for the story, I went to the Karoo, and I took this photo in the Karoo.
That's beautiful. Definitely gives people, insight into your locations, because I'm in the US, so I've been to Canada and Mexico. I haven't been anywhere else in the world, and seeing different places would be amazing. So learning about them in books is like almost being there, you know. I love being able to explore new areas through books, if that makes sense. What type of tips would you give to an aspiring author?
Spend some time learning about the craft of writing. It is actually a craft, and there's skills that you can learn to improve your writing. I think I've learned a lot after publishing this book that I didn't know before this book was published. And when my second book comes out, you'll see a major difference between the two books because of all the extra stuff that I learned since the first book. And I think taking a little bit of time to learn the craft first will enhance one's ability to produce a novel with depth that's going to really give readers an experience. But also the purpose between my two books was really different. My first book, I wanted to write escapism. I just wanted to write something that somebody could sit down and just escape for a couple of hours and enjoy completely. Whereas my second novel is a much more personal novel, being medical and being a doctor. So it's got much deeper themes and character arcs. So the purpose is so different, but the books they're completely different. The first book I wrote plot driven. So for Surf and Turf, I penned out things that I wanted to happen. And I weaved the story around those goals. Whereas with the second book, I didn't have a single plot when I started. I just had a character in my mind who had to evolve. So it was a completely different way of writing both of the books.
I definitely could not outline. I'm definitely a pantser. I don't know if you've heard that phrase or not, but right by the seat of your pants. And I tried outlining, and it does not work for me at all.
Yeah, but I mean, I've done both, and for the type of novels that they were, it worked. So the one that I outlined, it worked because it was more fast-paced adventure story, travel theme. Whereas the second one, it was so integrally linked with my work that it just, you know, I went for a drive and I saw something interesting and I incorporated it in my novel.
That's awesome. I saw a flower, like a picture on Facebook earlier, and it was like, or a plant, I guess would be a better term. And it was like black and purple. And I was like, man, I would love to incorporate this into one of my stories. Just, you know, the uniqueness of it and whatnot. It was just beautiful. So now I'm sitting here thinking about plants and putting them, you know, in stories. I don't know. I'm kind of weird, so don't mind me.
No, but I think as a novelist, one does that. You see the world through completely different eyes. You know, one of my hobbies is photography, and so if the one stage, from the one aspect, I'm looking at something from the eye of photographer, is the light right? Would this make a good photograph? But on the other side, I'm looking at it as, how would you describe this, and how can it be used in a novel? Like, we were driving back from a weekend away. And that was actually a weekend away, intentional, because of the second novel that I was writing. Is that I was setting a scene in a certain place, and so we traveled there for the weekend. And we came back and a storm was setting in. And the lights, the rain hitting the streetlights on the highway looked like these massive showers. Like, you know, a shower in your bathroom shower, this head with this light coming the way, just the way the light caught it was like these alien massive showers all the way down the highway. And it just stayed with me for so long, and then I incorporated it into one of my books. So yeah,
that's awesome when that happens. Definitely.
And people watching.
Go ahead.
People watching.
Yeah, definitely. That's always
how they move, their nervous tics, their happies.
Yep. Definitely. That's really important. So on the day that this podcast airs, your book will be featured on our Book of the Day section and on our social media so everyone can check it out and get links to your book and everything. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up for the day?
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm actually going to be in the US next month, which is going to be interesting. Going for a conference for work. Nice. And then I've been given a week's leave and I'm going to go up to the Grand Canyon. So I'm really looking forward to that. My camera's going to be smoking.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like fun. You're definitely going to have to take a bunch of pictures and post them so everyone can check them out.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us, Jo-Anne. It's been fun and it's been great to hear about another country and just to hear about your book. It sounds really good. And if you're ever looking for, ARC readers or reviewers, just let me know. I'd love to read some of your stuff. But
thank you so much.
It's been wonderful. You're welcome.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Cheers.
Everyone, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you. And that's a wrap on another episode of Magnificent Authors Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to share another inspiring conversation with a talented author. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Magnificent Authors Podcast so you don't miss any of our upcoming conversations with amazing writers. And be sure to check out Magnificent Mamas on our website, which is www.magnificentmamas.us, or on our Facebook page for more inspiring content from incredible authors. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. What resonated with you the most? Head over to Facebook or leave a comment on our website and let me know. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep those imaginations soaring.